So we start our discussion on politics. Last few weeks we were thinking about the law and government. Actually, politics is more connected with the government. Law is enforced by government, but politics means really government. The main question that we ask in politics is what's the purpose of government, or what government should rule people, What government, how governments are formed, what sort of government. Christianity teaches that the state is an agent of God. State is appointed and divinely appointed by God, and therefore is doing a part of God's work, only a part of God's work as to the execution of justice. But what happens often is government is not simply doing the execution or the maintenance of justice. They taken over part of God's role, Yes, they do more than that. No, we cannot permit that. Biblical Christianity recognizes the state as a God-established institution and government as a God-established, agency to execute or maintain justice. But what exactly is the political viewpoint of the Bible? That's a big question. What does the Bible say about government, about authority and all? Because Christianity believes in the depravity of man and man's moral responsibility, government is a must, because every action of man needs to be judged. Man has to show his accountability to some. If he is wrong, somebody has to punish him. If he is right, somebody has to reward him. So government is almost a must. But how much government? That is the question. What government? How much government? And we know that there are many, many systems in the world. There is capitalism. Capitalism often is viewed as a economical philosophy, but it is more than economical philosophy. There is communism. Again, many people think that communism is an economical philosophy. It is not. It's more than that. There is socialism. These are the three prominent systems that are in the world. Communism, socialism, and capitalism. Yes. But is there a fourth one? That's what we needed to really investigate. What does the Bible say? Yes, we are coming to monarchy, so they are democracy and all that thing there. Yes. So, there are different types of governments, therefore, in politics, But one thing we can understand as we study the New Testament is that the Bible calls for limited government only. Limited government, no unlimited government, because the absolute authority rests in God. If it's delegated authority, that means it's limited. Delegation has very many limitations. Delegation is only for a purpose, only to some limited extent. Absolute authority is the only one who has the complete. God has not given his absolute authority to anybody. It's a very little authority government God has given to. Therefore, what I say, limited government is the best government. Limited government is the best government. If there is no government, then that's anarchy. And if total government, that is totalitarianism. All those things are evil. Totalitarianism is evil, anarchy is evil. And less government, minimum government. That's what is best. Caesar definitely has his role, but according to biblical social and legal theory, God has appointed separate roles for the family and the church. The government can never step over family or church. Actually, there are three circles, and not one circle over the other circle. These are three circles that kind of, intersect. And so the area that intersect is the very sensible area. That's where each one should not step over the other one. But everybody has their own circle, the government, the family, the church. But what has eventually happened in the world is the government has taken over the church and the family. What the church should do and what the family should do, apparently the government has taken over and they decide. Even how many children a family should have, government decides. In China, one child policy. Who decides? Government decides. Parents don't decide. Husband and wife do not decide. God doesn't decide. It's a man decides. See, that's taking it over. And also, I don't like the idea of Muslims fasting maybe, and because all the hotels are closed and all that. But in China, in a province, they have said that no fasting in the daytime. Muslims, no. It was in the newspaper that they said no. It is illegal. It's unlawful for anyone to fast in the daytime. They must eat, they must work. If you want to fast, you fast. So they could not. So government should not be interfering in the religious faith of people. Today it's the Muslims, tomorrow it's the Christians, as far as government is concerned. So, so this sort of interference, that is a total government. So Caesar has become a substitute for God. No. Jesus Christ very rightly said, give it to Caesar. What is he says? Give it to Caesar, what is he says? Give it to God what belongs to God. Man cannot avoid three things somebody said. One is death, the other is tax, and the third is government. There's a lot of truth in it. Death, tax and government. Christians believe that these three are inevitable because God has established or ordained all of them. It is appointed for man once to die. That cannot be. And taxation is, yes, definitely, because Romans 13 and many other passages commands us to pay tax. Even Jesus Christ, though he didn't have it, yet he paid. Because he said we should not make any offense. So he paid the tax. And government is also inevitable and unavoidable because man is a sinner. Even in millennium, government is there. Maybe in eternity, the present kind of government will not be there. And governance need not to be there because the sin nature is gone. So automatically man submits to God. There is no rebellion. So when there is no rebellion, there is no sin. Minimum governance is all that is needed.
What does it mean by you rule with an iron rod?
Yes, the punishment will be very severe. There is no freedom, absolutely no freedom to commit sin. In the millennium. It's in the millennium.
But there will be rebellion.
Yes, anybody who rebellion, question authority, they will be punished. Finish them up. Freedom is to do right thing. You can do all the right thing. You have plenty of food, you have good health, you have everything you need. Why you rebel? Only rebel is because they don't appreciate, this God's rule. There's a lot of people, they don't like God's rule. Even in, they don't like the idea of God, or they don't like the idea of submission and all that, authority and all that. They cannot. So there will be people who. But Bible requires all believers to submit to the government. We are to pray for the government. We are to pay for the government. And we are never to play government. No parallel government. As long as governments are functioning as per the divine design, governments are to be obeyed. The Christian expects the state to accomplish limited God-ordained task. Governments are to adhere to the principle, everything has to be done decently and in order. 1 Corinthians 14, that principle applies. All things must be done decently and in order. God is systematic in all he does. Christians should participate in the process of governance as far as possible. staying within the appointed realm. In Proverbs chapter 11, verse 11, can somebody read that verse? Proverbs 11:11.
By the blessing of the upright, the city is exalted, but it is overthrown by the mouth of the wicked.
When there is righteousness, righteous rule, a city or a nation is established. When the righteousness is rejected and morality and rebellion comes, then that city is, overthrown. So this is a principle. This is a principle. As far as possible, we must submit it to the process of governance. And we all need to understand that power always corrupts. Especially power in the hand of sinner. It corrupts. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. This is what happened. Hitler got absolute power. So what happened? Stalin got and Lenin got, those people got absolute power in their hand. What happened? Mao got that one. Any government, any person who gets absolute power, he can do anything he wants. He doesn't have to fear anybody. He is never going to do the good thing. He is always going to do the bad things. Because he is a sinner. Therefore, the best government, in politics, the best thing is give minimum power. Give minimum power. That's what in the Bible, give minimum power. God did not give the kings of the Old Testament absolute power, no. They couldn't. There was check and balance, the priest, the prophet and the king. The priest and prophet. If king does anything wrong, the prophet will be sent to rebuke the king. If the priests do something wrong, the prophets again. If the prophets do wrong, then they will be rebuked by the priest or the king. There is a check and balance. There is a check and balance. So the check and balance always keeps the power in minimum because boundaries are drawn. You cannot step over because the others will come. But now, many governments, they have almost absolute power, they think. They don't have. But they can do anything they want. All that you need is a majority, right? Absolute majority if you have. Everybody will raise their hands or press the yes button and it becomes a law. They can do anything they want. It's a great danger because if such power falls in the hands of a corrupt man, a man who does not have the fear of God, because his authority comes from God and if he doesn't acknowledge that, yes, my authority is not in myself, it's even not the people, it's God who gave the authority. Therefore, I must be very conscious and careful in the use of this authority. So I always say have minimum government, no maximum government. It is better for the government to share power with maximum people. Instead of centralization, it's always better to decentralize. It's always better. Well, previous governments have done something called the Panchayat Raj and all, instead of the central government using all the power, they gave it to state government, they have to give it to the Panchayat Raj really. So a good part of the decisions and governance are done at the lowest level of government, the Panchayats. Well, that's very good. That's really very good. But again, because people are sinful, but yet there is a difference. Now the Ayalkuttam, whatever things they have in Kerala, the people doing a lot of things in themselves and all that things, it's very good because the abuse of authority will not be there. The abuse of authority. But if it's all concentrated in one man, we know what's happened in emergency, for example. Emergency was concentration of power in the hand of one person. He can do anything. Fundamental rights are revoked. You cannot even go to the court questioning certain things. The absolute power corrupts absolutely. And any government, that's what happened in Pakistan. The military rulers were absolute kind of monarch. They did what they want. That's what happened in Iraq. Saddam Hussein was an absolute ruler. He could do anything. Even he shot his own son-in-law. Just called him, boom, that's it. over how many, 1 million or 1 lakh, how many Kurds were, killed by him, mercilessly. So they could do, there is nobody to question. Anybody who questions, they will be shot. That sort of. So what form of government the Bible recommends is a great question. That's a great question. That's important question in politics. Definitely not dictatorship. That we know. Any system where people are represented in the governance is the ideal system. I think in the Old Testament also God did that. When Moses was concentrating a great part of the responsibility, even though the advice came from Moses' father-in-law, what was he said? Decentralize. Let you make decisions that are more complicated and difficult for others. But over the 10 some, over the 100 some, over the 1,000 some, over the 10,000 some, and that way. The power should not concentrate in any one person. So the Bible represents that idea, And also they had elders among the people. The elders among the people. Most important decision in Israel were made by the Sanhedrin. There were 70 people. There are 70 people, Sanhedrin. The synagogue and the elders in the synagogue, there the local level decisions were made. In the temple, of course, they had a high priest and, then the father-in-law and the son-in-law high priest came, Ananias and what was the other name? Yes, Caiaphas, they are father-in-law and son-in-law. So, they are an abuse of authority. The temple business was the family business. And Jesus questioned it. That was a problem. Jesus questioned it. So they decided that, we will destroy you. Of course, he came to die for the sin of the world. That's the divine perspective. They didn't have the divine perspective. The apostles concentrated, in the hands of the apostles, the ministry was concentrated. We know the result of that one is, they were handling the spiritual as well as the material. So they immediately realized that, even though we are apostles and all things won't go very, very smoothly. So they were forced to say that, choose from among you 7 men to whom we will give this part of the ministry. As for us, we will concentrate only on the spiritual aspect, prayer and ministry of the word. See, decentralization is the best. So the Lord has assigned in the churches a group of men called elders and a group of men called deacons. And then ministry is divided among various people according to spiritual gifts. So said, what then, brethren, when you come together, you have, one has Psalm, one has this, then this. There is no one man who stand up and do everything. That sort of a system God does not approve. Just one man. Say one man show, no. There should be somebody who is moderating things, that's true, but the elders collectively do. For each meeting they could assign, brother, you be the emceeing the meeting today. But the authority and the responsibility are divided. So it is in the nation also, that's the same way. That's the same way. God wanted this to be happen in the Old Testament, that's the way. Even though there was king and all, the king could not make any decision by himself. He is always surrounded by counselors. In the abundance of counselors, there is wisdom. Solomon had a lot of counselors. They were aged men who were experienced, And Solomon died. Rehoboam came and he replaced all these old men with this young blood. Let young blood come in. So what was the advice given by the young blood? See that the nation was divided into two. United monarchy ended. Divided monarchy came. So the advisors are very important. Again, if the advisors are not godly men, so that's dangerous. So all good kings always consulted with people before making a decision. If he made it all by himself, usually it will be a failure because he won't get the support of the other people. Without getting the support of the people, even the strong king cannot go. The army, for example, Indira was very wise. Indira has divided our forces into under 3 different heads, the Air Force, the army and the navy, because he thought that what was his name? Manekshaw. Yes. Sam Manekshaw was such a forceful man. She was even so afraid. So in a sense it is wise, because if all the army is under one man, at one moment he may feel that enough is enough. So he could do, but today it cannot be done. It cannot be done. So decentralization and sharing the ministry and all those things are very, 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 very good. But then the question still is there, what type of government is the best? What type of government is the best? So we need to study into it a little deeper to get it. We of course will say, some will say monarchy is the best because first of all, if you have a very wise monarch, king, whatever corruption is only one man's corruption. Usually the family, the monarchy is, royal family from family to family. So if they already amassed property in one generation, then enough. So the next generations, there is no very much corruption and all that. Well, nothing wrong. Our Lord is going to rule the world, that way. He is not a democrat. Millennial rule will be by one man rule, basically. It's a Lord's kingdom ruled by David. Yes, but it's not too many. There will be many other ministers and all that, but yet it is basically monarchy. That's the ideal form when the ideal man rules. The problem is, where is the ideal man today? Where is the ideal man? The British kingdom has ruled for so long. They have had good kings and all that, but how even that one was corrupt. And the story of the England, you will study that the Magna Carta and the French Revolution then came, and all these revolutions where people were tired of one man ruling, because often he became a despot and he did just what we wanted, and people were sick and tired of it. So monarchy today is gone. There is what country is there today ruled by a king? Jordan, King Hussein was there. Now I don't know who is there. Then who are the? There are a couple of countries.
Sultan of Brunei.
Sultan of Brunei. Yes, there are some. Very few countries that are ruled purely by a king. Even though there is a figurative head like in Britain, the power is not there. Power is not there.
Gulf countries. Saudi.
Yeah, the Gulf countries all have yes, royal family. They are nothing royal with it. They were pirates. And they were honestly pirates. When piracy was no more, they have amassed, and so they had the weapons and the pirates, so they have assumed. And then oil was found out and they became very rich and all that thing. But they are not royal family, there is no royal blood in them. I guess the word royal should be avoided. They are, you can say that they are one man rule. There is, but that's what they claim to be. Okay, let that be there. Let that be there. Very few dictators today, because dictatorship is hated by people everywhere. John Adams, the President of America during 1797 through 1801 said, this is a statement quoted by him, our constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. Our constitution was made only for a moral and religious people. When the people are not moral and religious, their constitution is good for nothing. That's what happened there. Everything that is said in the constitution, even though it is there, either by amendments they changed it a lot, but the court has taken away prayer, Bible reading, so many things. Today you can read Ramayana or you can say chant Om Om on anywhere in America, but you cannot say praise the Lord. No, that's violation of your freedom of speech and all that things, because you hurt the other's feelings when you say. But you say Om Om, nobody's feeling is hurt, and so it's all the abuse. So he was very correct to say that the constitution was made only for a more religious people. It is wholly inadequate for the government of any other. John Adams was right. The American constitution is inadequate for governing any other kind of people. If it's a moral and religious people, this constitution is good. And so we have a problem, That's the most powerful nation. The most powerful man has said that their constitution is good only for when people are good. And that's very true. When people are bad, it's only power. And especially some people understand only one language. That's the language of the power. But there are certain religions, certain people like that. You cannot give them any advice. No love is there. Love is considered weakness. Meekness is weakness there. All these things. The only thing there is power. If you can make the other to sit and bow down because of your power and force, then they will respect it. So that's why some people say that, we love Hitler. Because Hitler had power. We like Stalin. Stalin had power. We love Mao. He had power. But we don't like Jesus Christ. The poor fellow on the cross was crying. Why I'm forsaken? Forsaken by God, forsaken by people, everybody. All that he had is 2-3 women standing at the bottom of the cross. Nobody else. Asked for a drop of water when there was nobody to give it. Who will follow that person, they are asking. Of course, they don't understand that, why he was there. And he has defeated Satan, he has defeated death, he has defeated sin. So the basic problems of the world he has defeated, and he is victorious over death and hell and all that. That's real victory. They don't understand it. They look only the Jesus who is hanging on the cross. They have to also to see the Jesus who rose from the dead. So some people, they say power. So they say that we would rather worship Judas Iscariot who betrayed Jesus and made some money rather than Jesus, who was betrayed. Well, when we have people like Judas and people like Hitler and people like these people, godly constitution won't do very much. They understand only, power, the language of power. So how true is that statement? Government needs to know for whom their constitution is written. That's the problem. Our constitution written by Dr. Ambedkar, a great man, a very learned man, he has followed the British pattern and all, but British pattern, British people were more gentlemen really, They were gentlemen, that's why they packed up and gone. If it was Hitler, you think they will go? If Germany was ruling India? It would have been another story. So when we copied their constitution and we find that, a lot of things are not working properly. A lot of things are not working properly. Our constitution is excellent. But it must be for a people who he knows what are the provisions of our constitution, our government. So because governments are constituted by people who tended to misuse authority, the political leaders who are chosen in democracy, of course the people who are chosen, they represent the people. So 10 thieves voted to elect a thief. So such 100 thieves are elected, they come and they are making laws and they are making rules. What will be the result? Even if they wanted to practice charity and truthfulness, end up doing what? Some thievery and some robbery. This is what's happening. This is what's happening. Every year our budget is so huge. But you ask, where does the money end up? A good part of the money end up in the hands of thugs and, all these mafias and all that. We needed to bring law to say that those who are convicted of murder and other serious, offences cannot be running for parliament. Think of a nation where you have to make a law like that. And, what was that man? So he had to sit for Satyagraha and all that thing.
Anna
Yeah, so much. Then they came the Hum party and Bhatmi party, and what happened? Because the sinners playing saints game ended up only in sinners game. That's what I say. A bunch of sinners are playing the saints game. But what happened? Eventually they will show their sin nature. Because we are sinners. That's what happened. So unless the people change, sometimes our constitution is no useful. It is civil procedure code or criminal procedure code. We have the best of the law of evidence, and we have the best of everything, because we have made them according to the British system, which is one of the best system in the world, but it is not the problem with the system, it is problem with the people who administer the system. That's what it is. So traditionally Anglo-Saxon models, they work for that sort of people. Anglo-Saxon model is the best because it divides government into three branches, the legislative branch, the judiciary and the executive. It is generally accepted as a good check and balance. But yet in India, I sometimes feel that the balance is not maintained. I sometimes feel the legislatures go beyond. Sometimes I feel the executive branch goes beyond. Sometimes the judiciary goes beyond. And now I think the judiciary is having the upper hand. Everybody is afraid of the judiciary. Rightly or wrongly, I don't know, but it is. No, it should never be there. It should never be there. Yeah, it's going only for a short time. Yeah, right. The more powerful man came and, they can do. But they have done. When Jawaharlal Nehru was the Prime Minister, the land was all in the hands of what you call the rich landowners, thousands and 10,000s of acres. So government needed to take a lot of land for highways and buildings and all. So the whole matter of compensation became a very major thing. So government cannot, India was very poor, they didn't have the money. So government acquired land and compensation must be given. So the compensation was very, very huge. The court will always say that the compensation is not adequate, give more. So the parliament has passed a law. Courts cannot discuss or entertain the adequacy of the compensation. The courts do not have the right to question the adequacy of the compensation. Whatever the parliament passes, it will be. So again they have taken land, the landowners went to the court. So the court said what? We are not asking the adequacy of the compensation, we are asking whether compensation is paid or not. You take a property that is worth 20 crores and you pay 5 crores. Is it compensation? So court said no compensation made. 20 crores property you took, you paid 19. Okay, we don't question it. 18 we don't question it. But you paid 5 crores? That is no compensation. Because the idea, definition of compensation is what? You taking something, an equivalent is given, for compensating. So government is back to their force to give money. So this, that is good. The court will interpret the law, that's good. But when court makes the law, that's when the problem comes. Courts are not there. The role of the judiciary is to interpret the law and to make sure that the law is served, righteously to all people, no discrimination of law and all that. The court is never made to make laws, but they made a lot of laws in recent past, lot of laws, and that's they are going beyond. But the thing is that the government is not powerful enough to, the legislative branch, the executive branch really also is not powerful enough to question these things. So they have to abide by it. So they are all afraid of contempt of court and all these things. So, this is a problem. So the traditional Anglo-Saxon division is good. It is working and it should be working, but because our system is good, but the system is not working because the people who execute the system are not qualified to do it. What is wrong with democracy? Democracy is a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That's very good. But if people are ignorant of what is democracy, if people are manipulated emotionally to vote for certain group of people, so then what happens? The votes swing to the side where the able leader will, communicate the message wrongly or rightly. There was a time when the two oxen with the plow, yoke was the sign of the Congress party. So there used to be some people say that the cow is sacred, therefore don't put ink on it. So, the election, don't put ink on it because it's sacred. The hand, you never put ink on your hand, So, they will say this way and that way, and all the emotion of the people will be, used. In a system like that, democracy cannot go. Democracy is successful only when every voter judiciously exercises his voting power, knowing what are the values for which this candidate stands, what are his fiscal policies, what are his other social viewpoints, and then he exercises vote. That's where. Among a group of people who are not able to make that judicious judgment upon the value of the candidate and the value of the party, the policies of the party, and all the fiscal policies of the party, the social policies of the party, and what democracy will do. That's why some systems said that no democracy, it will be oligarchy, it will be ruled by the elite, ruled by the few. Plato recommended that. The city-states, voting rights must be given only to the few, who are the most educated, sophisticated people. Average people should not be, Yes. So he wanted an ideal city-states, to be brought in. So he even said that only selected few will be allowed to procreate children. The healthy, intelligent people. Others should be castrated, What about that? Well, there is danger in every system. But among all, one-man rule monarchy or oligarchy ruled by the few, the elites, or by democracy, where the rule by the majority of the people. The problem with that one is, it is good only when this majority operates personally on personal merit. But where religion comes to play, for example, where religion comes to play a big role, then democracy is a failure, because you have one religion that is in majority. The votes go only on the basis of that one. They vote looking at the name, whether it is this religion, that religion, or this religion. So necessarily a person is not selected for voting because of its merit, but because of religion. So that's one of the problems we have. We have a country where, it's a secular state, but yet we know that when the election comes, religion play a great part in it. And that's the truth, that's the truth. Though government is trying to say that religion should not come and there should be nothing, this and that and all, but we all know that the undercurrent is there. So the minority, of course, the minority religions, they will not be even properly represented. Their views will not be even heard. So the whole question is there, So what the Christian view of human government? What form of government the Christian should recognize? The understanding, if a man's nature, man is a sinner, but he is created in God's image, therefore, any government that comes must recognize the dignity of every human being, even though he is poor or rich or whatever is. Nobody is untouchable because everybody equally is created in the image of God. Democracy is successful only where that principle is recognized. Where some are even, trodden down by others, either on the basis of their religious belief, or on the basis of their richness or poverty, or on the basis of their caste, or creed, democracy will not be successful. But yet India is world's largest democracy. Well, I praise God for that because, India is a democracy. Even though the democracy is not functioning as good as it ought to be, but it is a democracy. The process of election and the process of all lawmaking and everything is going through. Though our parliament is a pandemonium often, it's a shame that they are showing it on the TV. Because our younger generations are watching how to be a member of parliament, and what preparations you have to make. When a new man, MB, was elected in Britain, he asked one of the senior members, how I should be behaving in the parliament. The first time I'm going. So he said, you keep behaving. When you are wrong, the speaker will be giving a ruling, The gavel will be going down, just saying that. So you will, in a couple of months, you will understand how you have to behave. But here is the other way. Where are the people? They are not in their seats. On any issues, they are not in the seats. They are all in the... they are. What are they doing? They are shouting. They are even the poor speaker. Man or woman doesn't make any difference. I think it's a sad sight. Pleading with people. Please, member, honorable member, please. What please? Well, they are honorable, but they are not behaving honorably. If honor is to be given by behavior, how many will get that honor? If it's only by position, yes, everybody gets. So, the Christian, when he thinks about these things, definitely, it's a big question. The key check and balance principle is that authority should not be allowed to fall in the hands of a few. Authority must be carefully distributed among a large number of representatives. No government should concentrate power in a few hands. It is dangerous. The wider the authority is distributed, lesser the chance of abuse or misuse. So this is a guideline for the Christian to decide. In India, of course, as I said, thank God, our constitutional fathers have drafted a very good constitution, and there is no possibility for the government to fall in the hand of a few, because it's a federal system. The cabinet system, for example, in America it is a one man, the president. Although of course he has various people to help him, but here the prime minister, he is only chosen by the party, and he chooses the fellow ministers, but yet every department is taken care of, and there is a collective responsibility and duty. And also the prime minister cannot be a dictator unless, well, he could be, he could be. The prime minister could be a dictator, that depends upon the person and the personality, and also the followers, yes. Well, we have to wait and see many things. We have to wait and see many things. Indira was the strongest prime minister probably the free India had seen, and she was a very able prime minister, but yet we know in the emergency, what she had done. So that tells us that a prime minister could become a dictator if he wants. But then she suffered terribly in the next election. She learned her lessons. She was the best prime minister we had, except for that it tarnished her name, and she paid very dearly for that, and in many ways she was an excellent administrator, powerful. A related question to what form of government is what amount of freedom the government should have in the life of the citizens. That's the question. What amount of freedom the government, or authority, the government must have in the lives of the citizens. In communism, they have absolute control. That's a totalitarian form of government. They have absolute. The Politburo has absolute control over every citizen. There is no fundamental right, nothing. So definitely we don't want a communistic form of government. The property is totally owned by the state. Every citizen is a worker, and the worker will be paid, and the pay will be decided by the government. No appeal, no complaints, nothing. That's the rule in China or in Russia or anywhere where the true form of communism. Now what we have in China is a modified form of communism. They have still retained the name communism, but it basically is a modified form of capitalism, with the exception that no religious freedom, and there is no freedom of expression and all. But economy, when it comes to economic freedom, it reverted back to capitalism. So it is a communism, grafted with the capitalistic economy. That's what it is. But communism definitely is, it interferes with the citizens. What about socialism? What about socialism? Under socialism, government and private operate on definite areas decided by the law. It's a mixed system, so they both have. Certain areas of life are governed by government, while certain areas of life by the individuals without interfering in others' lives. Society as a whole control, not the individual. That's a socialism. The society controls, not the individuals. Now the problem with the socialism is and the society is more powerful usually than the individual, therefore the society will take more control. The individual's right will always be encroached upon by the society. That's what happened. But socialism is not a bad form of government,
We are more socialist.
India is a socialism. It's a mixed economy, it's a socialism. But in capitalism, which is more an economic policy than a political philosophy, yet governmental interference is limited to taxation, etc. They believe that the person should be free to use his money the way he wants. He can invest the capital, made business, he can earn profit, and our government can decide the tax, but should not interfere in the business policy of the individual. That's what capitalism. Capitalism, emphasizes the capital that comes from the private individual. Government should not be doing any business, basically. The individuals may. So in capitalism, not society, not government, but the individual ones who are in control. So America is making billionaires and billionaires and billionaires. It's not the society that is the individual billionaires coming. India, because it is a socialism mixed economy, India is also making millionaires every year. Every year. But the thing is, necessarily our society is not improving. In America, the society is growing equally, because the private enterprises provides more employment and all. Now in India also it is slowly coming. So in capitalism there is a least involvement of government in the private life of individuals, though in the last 20-25 years government begin to get into the religion and education and other areas, which is not typical of capitalism. In socialism, always government interference will be there. Private party can do business, but only as per the regulations given by the government. In capitalism, no. You do your business. Government won't interfere in it. You do your business. It's yours. Government will say some rules as to the minority. No discrimination of race and color and all that. There is some law like that there will be. But there is another system which is called laissez-faire, L-A-I-S-S-E-Z. L-A-I-S-S-E-Z, Laissez is a French word, faire, F-A-I-R-E, which means minimum government. Minimum government. Minimum government. Where government will not involve in any business or any market. Government will look after maintenance of law and order. That's all government will do. Government will be in charge of police and military and the legal court system. Government will not be involved in any business. It will not be controlling anybody's business. They will have police and military and the basic court system and passports, printing, currencies, etc., few areas. That's all what the government will look. So that's a French system they have brought in, laissez-faire system, which I think is the best in my opinion. In France it is there, yes, not in the pure form. The French Revolution brought it, but then, they found that if the government is not powerful and interfere, people will exploit one another, then the powerful will be those who are more muscle. They will form a parallel government. But it is still ideal, I think, that where the people are civilized and cultured and all that, this is, I think the Christian system does not necessarily recommend one system over the other, but overall the spirit is the government should involve minimum. Minimum government is the best government. The taxation is one area where the government, yes, in the Old Testament, the Jewish government put taxation at 30 to 35%, which is a fair amount. That's the form of tithes and all that, what needs to be given to poor and needy, foreigners. Parental care and all somehow calculated comes around 35%, which is a fair amount. Income tax in India and other countries were, around 40%, 30%, But then there's the exemption there. But here no exemption. You have to pay tax on everything that you make, Definitely communism is not Christian because of not only economic system, but because of its political other thing. It's irreligious, anti-religious, and the fundamental rights are not recognized. Citizens don't have any rights. Only the state has rights. Private property is not allowed. The state owns all it. Now China and all is permitting private property because they realize that, state-owned properties, it's not productive. Only private property is productive. Capitalism is a system when individuals could do what he wants with his property. I think taxation is decided. By then we have seen in American capitalism how they have gone beyond their original idea, but now government is interfering in religion, family, marriage and so many things. The government should not be. The original capitalistic view of government, the government has no business of interfering in those. So they have brought in what they call amendment. I don't know how many amendments they have. So many amendments of the articles. They take away this. This is wrong. So the laissez-faire, I think it's the best. It's the best. Especially if people, for the Christians that's the best, because Christians generally are law-abiding people. They are exhorted to earn their own living. They are never to live on the charity of the government or anybody else as such. Only the poor need to be supported, but the average person is to work and earn his living. And so laissez-faire is the best because government won't interfere. Government will look after the peace, order, and law and order system. So that's very good that we have, police and military to, secure our frontiers, and police and court to secure any violations there. So that's the one. But in a country like India, that's never going to happen. In a laissez-faire, the Prime Minister will have very little job. The Cabinet will have only one or two ministers. The Home Ministry and the External Ministries, or just a few departments only. But I still think that's one. So somebody said the story of comparing the socialism and communism and capitalism. They have said the story of a man owning 2 cows. You probably heard it. He had 2 cows. Had the 3 people. One was a capitalist, one was a socialist, the other was a communist. All 3 had 2 cows each. So the communist said, the cow belongs to the state, okay? It's not your cow. Well, you will cut the grass, you will milk the cow and all those things, but you will be paid for it. But we decide what you will get. So what happened? The man stopped taking care of the cow. Very soon the cow died. The government took the hide and the bones, and the story ended there. In socialism, the socialists had 2 cows. So all the society said that, hey, it's not fair that you have 2 cows. It's our cow. It's our cow. So what we do, we'll all bring our grass. You milk the cow, distribute the milk among the whole. So they distributed the milk. So everybody got little by little milk, And then the day came when the cow they were not giving anymore. So they have to buy the feed and everything. So they said that it's not profitable. It's not profitable to keep this cow anymore. So let's sell it. Divided the money. Okay, so everybody got a little bit money. So that's what socialism. Everybody. The capitalist, what he had, he sold 1 cow and bought a bull. So the number of, begin to increase, and it became 2, 4, 8, 16, 32. Very soon he had a dairy farm. So he employed 2 people. They get the salary. Okay, the cows increased, dairy farm became bigger and bigger. So more employees came. Then he started a milk plant there, and so more employees there, and a milk powder plant here, more employees there, cheese plant there, more employees there, a butter unit there, more employees there. So then he started another unit somewhere else, and more people. So some of these employees who worked there, they learned the art. So they also started. So what happened? The lot of business came, and everybody got a job. Community, everybody has a decent job. Everybody that's what capitalism is. And truly that is what capitalism is. So what's the best, communism or socialism or capitalism? As an economicism, definitely that one. But other than that one, I don't like communism because it's totalitarian state. They don't respect fundamental rights, religious rights and all those things. So communism is gone. A Christian can never be a communist. But it's sad that there are communists among Christians. How can they be a Christian and a communist? Because for the communist there is no fundamental right. Christian always wants fundamental rights. Communism does not respect religion. It's the opium of the people, right? A Christian is a religious man. How can he? So the 2 systems cannot go. So, it's like what they call, they have a cereal in America called grape nuts. It doesn't have any grape nor nuts in it. It's called grape nuts. What it is, some grains and something. I don't know even why they call it grape nuts, but that's the name of it. So communism is, a communist Christian is a grape nut. He is neither a communist nor a Christian. It's almost a contradiction, self-contradiction. So it cannot be. So socialism, yes, in some ways socialism is good because it allows private economy as well as social economy. So both. But then the problem is usually the society swallows the individual. That's what it is. Society swallows individual. But in India it is coming, the Muthoot people are growing. That's private economy. And there are social, the cooperative banks and all those banks, they are growing. And, some of these cooperative farming, I don't know how they are doing, I don't know. They may be there, but private farming is there. So these things are there. There are some private cashew factories and there are some cooperative cashew factories. Both are growing and it's good there. So socialism to some extent will. But I personally think that capitalism as such a form of economy, I may prefer, though I'm not a capitalist because I don't have capital. I don't have... you have to have capital to be a capitalist. Without a capital, what capitalist you are? So, I cannot call myself a capitalist, though my economic system better fit that. But I like laissez-faire. That's what I like more. I believe in minimum government, with the minimum government controlling.
Is there any country that's practicing this?
There are countries where minimum government is there. Some of the, for example, Sweden and some of those countries, I believe, I have not studied them extensively, so I cannot say authoritatively. Their minimum government interference, people can do anything they want, basically, they can. But the thing is, because man is a sinner, people can do anything they want means any
nonsense.
Yeah, any nonsense. That's the way it is. But those countries even permit foreigners. Anybody can come and deposit money in their bank. Swiss banks, all those things. So there are many countries like that, and there are a lot of freedom in New Zealand and Scotland and all those countries which are basically Protestant countries. There is a lot more freedom, very less interference of the government. Government just basically deals with the tax laws and other government legal matters, but people can do. You can do your farming if you want. If you don't want to farm your land, that's fine. Yes, the government interference will be mainly. But the government, in the minimum government, that's what I believe. The tax money, people are exhorted to give money, support the government with money and all. Because even though I said that the minimum government is the best, I think the taxation must be in the department of government, and the tax money must be used to help the poor and the needy, the sick. Even roads and hospitals and schools and all could be done privately. Government doesn't have it. Some of those private roads are much better. L&T roads and few roads, the people should be allowed to take, toll. How nicely they maintain than the government roads. Why can't they do it? There will be competition. There will be parallel highways. Why you pay 20 rupees for every 5 kilometers here, there may be 10 rupees for every 5 kilometers. The business people, they have money. So instead of the land mafia grabbing all the land and raising apartments and all these things, some of the land mafia may be investing the 20,000 crore rupee they have in the roads and other infrastructure, But here nobody can make private roads, no private railways. In America, railway is private, post office is private. What's wrong with it? Everything is functioning smoothly. Much better than what's, we are doing it here. Only police and military and the legal, the justice system and a few others. Government doesn't need to start even schools and colleges. The private will do. Government has to give some guidelines, minimum guidelines. Not everybody could, so you say that in a country like India, the scheduled caste, scheduled tribe, the so-called people, they say that 30% or 20% of the seats must be reserved for those people. The tax money will pay, underwrite their education until certain times, Yeah. So those sort of things the government could do. This is now maximum governance. You cannot do anything. You cannot do anything, it's all. Government control is there. Even what you raise up a dog in your home, and if you don't want the dog, you cannot get rid of that dog. My neighbor had a dog which had cancer, it was dying, and the owner didn't want it to suffer, so went to the veterinary doctor and asked, can give some medicine where I can put the dog to sleep. Said, we cannot, it's against the law. It's against the law. The government come to know that I will lose my job. I may have to go to jail. But euthanasia you could do. You can kill people, no problem. Only animals have rights. Now animals have fundamental rights and human beings don't have any more fundamental rights. That's the sort of thing. So, in a country like this, minimum government, there are maximum government. Why should we have tax? There should be no income tax, no sale tax, nothing of these things. It can all be abolished. All that we need is money exchange tax. MET, I call it. Every time the state bank goes to the reserve bank and get 200 crores of money, they have to pay tax to the reserve bank. Whatever government fix. For every rupee, 10 paisa tax. So if they get 100 crores, they get only 90 crores in hand. Okay. From the state bank, the other banks will come and get money. The state bank will take tax, recollect it. So they may take it 11% because they are going and handling expenses. So when people, individuals, go to these banks to deposit money or take money, they will pay a tax. That will be 12%. So they get it. Then no tax. You buy, you sell, whatever you do. You sell a property for 20 lakhs, government will take the money tax, money exchange tax, 12%. You know, other tax. Only the registration duty, paper valuation, whatever may be. You know. Why all these income tax people, sales tax people, and all these people, they are all amassing money. The only thing we need is when things come from outside, we have the octroi or we have the customs and all. That will be a customs department there. I think it could be done. It need to be worked out a little. But then there is not very much, of course, black money, yes. Anybody's possession, 10 lakhs rupees came, they have to have the receipt given, they have paid tax on the amount. So where is the tax receipt? Here it is. You paid the tax. It's your money, you do whatever you want. Now it is multiple taxes. You paid your income tax, with the rest of the money you go and buy some steel, tax. You build a home, tax. So how many times you pay tax? Already the money is taxed. You paid your tax. Then whatever items you bought to build the house, for every item you paid tax, 15%, 20% VAT and all these things. Then you build the house, there is tax on it, house tax, so many other tax. So in another sense, what you count it up, government gets back about 60%, 70% of all your money, this way and that way. This is ridiculous. You are working and earning the money and, you know, everything. So actually government is not benefited by all this money, that's the thing. Because it's corruption, it's going this hand, that hand and all. I think it should be stopped, you know. A laissez-faire government, laissez-faire government is the best government. I think, you know, I'm a preacher, so I'm not a politician, though in my blood there is politics, you know. Yes. In my family also there are plenty of politicians, MLAs and all we had, and now we don't have any. But you know, the politics is, blood is there, you know. I think, you know, my job is not there, you know, but someday, you know, when I get a chance I speak about it, you know. Why all these officials amassing money? Being at education institutions, nice institutions, teachers, professors and all that, nice hospitals, private hospitals. How many we have? The best hospitals in India are all private hospitals. Where it is Vellore or where it is, you know, Apollo, where so many there are. Why should government worry about all these things? There is strikes always in those hospitals. Private hospitals never a strike. Vellore never had a strike. You know, Apollo never had a strike. Yeah. Why should government worry about it?
What about the cost of this? Private hospitals are much more than government hospitals.
But it all comes down when there is competition. There is no competition, that's why, you know, this is competition. All the government hospitals are meant for the poor. That's why what government will do with this money they get a lot of money. Every time money exchanges, they are getting money, you know, they are getting money. So all what will do? They will pay some of the bills of the poor people, you know. Our government can make laws which say that, okay, 10% of all the patients must be free treatment for the poor. So government will give them a card for the poor people. They present the card, that means automatically the bill will be paid by the government. The same treatment will be available. Nobody have to interfere in anything, you know, government can work it out. Now what happened? Look, the what they call it, the low income tax, what they call those people? BPL, below poverty level. Who are on the BPL? There are some MLAs and some MPs may be on BPL. I had a relation in my family, he was an MLA before. When the emergency came, he had 18 ration cards. He was the richest man in our place. Thousands of acres of rubber estate and all. Why should he have 18 ration cards? It was kind of Scott, that time actually. So he was on the Janata party, he was against Indra, and also they finally said, well, do one thing, come to the Indra party, we will. So he joined the Indra party. He was you only need one. You need one card which tells in the schools also, every private college, schools must have 10 or 20% of free. That government will pay, it's not free. Government will pay for them with the tax money. So any student goes there, they give the card, okay, admit it. If he deserves, admit it. So government can run smoothly, about all these things. It's not that we cannot run it, but corruption will come down. Corruption will come down. Less government also. Government will not be the major employer. Now in India, who is the major employer? Government. In Kerala, I don't know about Kerala, 80% or 85% of the income is given only for paying salary and pension. So where is the money for national construction? It's all from the World Bank, from the other bank, from this bank. Because what India, Kerala gets, it's all given away. So now government, of course, stopped the pension scheme. Now no more pension. Okay. So what happens? Nothing will happen. People will live. Nothing will happen. People will live. They will invest their money. Contribute to pension. Okay, that's fine. You put your own money, you get it. Now so many mutual funds and others are bank and coming up with what, the old age, the insurance system and all, they have all, okay, you put a lump sum this much, you get after this age so much, or you put monthly, you get, this is all the pension systems. In another sense, people will care for their own needs. There is a section always, the Lord said, the poor you always have. Those poor you always have to be cared by the government. That I agree. The government should not be caring for the rich and the affluent. But today government is caring for the rich and the affluent. This reservation system, all the Muslims have reservations and certain other people have reservations, where they are billionaires or millionaires they have. Why should government give? Is religion a ground for reservation? Economy should be a ground for, if that's somebody is very poor, well, he should be helped, whatever religion he is. So the best system definitely is the laissez-faire system, and I think the tax system all has to be revamped, completely. So government should remain, less governance, it should remain an institution of basically justice. Government should never be an institution of charity. Let individuals and churches do the charity. Government should not decide the family size. The government should not say where your educated children should go, what courses they can take. No, I must have the freedom to decide what school my children go and what course, And government should not be telling me. Everybody must have, Government can take reasonable, guidelines can make, but that is. So the problem with the political system is that every day they are taking away more and more power from people and more interference in lives. Governments are a monster today. Governments are a monster today. It should not be a monster. It should never be a monster. So coming back to what system you will recommend. That's you will be, democracy is the ideal, I admit, but is democracy the ideal? Our churches are not functioning on the basis of democracy. Our churches are functioning on democracy only when it comes to the non-spiritual matters, yes. The people contribute the money, they decide where the money will go. The few who handle the money won't decide. I don't know how here it functions, but where I'll say that the beginning of the month, every year, they will make their material financial policies. The elders, deacons, and all the members of the church will say that, okay, a visiting preacher will be paid that much, uninvited preacher will be paid that much, it's all. But guideline, there's a guideline. That guideline, according to that one, gone. If anybody is sick in the church, the church will not give anything from the church amount, or individually, personally, collection will be made towards that. That will not be that way. The church won't discriminate against one another. When the wedding comes, the same thing. Some may be more needy, so more money will be given by individuals. The individuals can personally give, or it could be collected and given by the church, but it should never be from the church. Because there will be people later complain that you gave so much for his son's wedding, not that much. So financial policies will be given, and any amount up to this, the deacons can freely without consultation, but any amount above that needs to be consulted with the spiritual leadership, or it should be presented before the whole body, and it should be passed. Because the burden comes on the people. Such as building a hall, for example, conducting a camp, more. So the whole people should be called and say that we want a camp and this is the expense, so how are we going to raise the money, that sort of, without instead saying that everybody will be giving 5,000 rupees each, So, otherwise the spiritual matters are all decided by the spiritual leadership of the church. They are not going to discuss with everybody, should I preach next Sunday, or you think somebody else should preach on a Sunday. The God has put you there, so you are supposed to do that. So it's not technically a democracy. It is not technically a democracy. Elders are never elected by the people. They are appointed by the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit has appointed it. Deacons are elected by the people, because deacons handle the money the people give. The people give. It's the people's money. You cannot handle, people will give money only if it is handled by people who have confidence in them. Then only money will come. I know who is handling it. I have confidence in those. So deacons are elected or chosen by the church. So it's not a typical democracy. A typical democracy cannot function. The Lord, of course, is not a Democrat. Neither is he a Republican. The Lord is an autocrat, you could say that, but he is never, he does not do things, simply at his, what we call, at his women fancy. No, he is a loving, caring master who always seeks the best for his people. Because he is omniscient, he knows what is best for us. Because he lives forever, he only can carry out, because others will do something, great consequences come, but they are gone. The next generation has to deal with. But the Lord is there. All consequences he will handle. He knows the consequences at the beginning. In the beginning itself, he knows the end. So he is the best administrator. When we have such a person, like the Lord Jesus Christ, democracy is not the best. Monarchy is the best. But until then, I think, we have probably a minimum government is the best. With some democratic principles, definitely. Now the question is, what is the purpose of government? We have talked about it the other day, but that was one aspect we talked, but there is more to talk about it. The purpose of the government is to maintain justice for all. Justice for all. That's the basic purpose of the government. Government is to maintain justice for all. Justice for the rich, the poor, the sick, the needy, the young, the old, the men, the women, the students, everybody. Justice for all. Justice, what is justice? Someone defined justice as the practice of truth in human relationship. Justice is the practice of truth in human relationship. Justice is rendering to each his due according to a right standard. Justice is rendering to each his due according to a right standard. So governments must state this, make this standard and decide what is each person's due. What he needs, what he must contribute and what he must take. So governments, that is their purpose. The governments must maintain justice. That's a great job, They have to know the people, the situation of the people, the need of the people, the income of the people, the expenditure of the people, the capacity of the people. All these things they have to know that. They simply cannot say that everybody doesn't have the same need, different need. The Adivasis, for example, have needs that we don't have. And they don't have needs that we have. Their needs are much different. Much different. For an average citizen of this country, they have such a diversified need. Anybody who living in Bombay, they needs at least a scooter or a motorbike, if not a car. But somebody who living in the tribal area, they may not need it because the maximum area distance they cover in a lifetime maybe 20 kilometers. That's all they go. In the ancient times, our forefathers were like that. All marriages take place between 25 miles maybe radius. But now the girl is in America, the boy is here. That sort of things, So the needs are much, much higher, much, much higher. Today everybody has a mobile phone, and how expensive? Yes, is it needed? That's a different matter, but they need it, right? Because they need it. Okay, that's good. But the people who live there may not need it because they don't have too many people to call. They have to stand there and they just howl and the people will immediately come who are expected. So, it's the same way. They don't need a bakery there sometimes. They have the best food. Actually, we eat the bad food. Bad food, really bad food. Average in, city people, they eat, educated people eat bad food. But they eat the good food. They raise their own chicken, their own eggs, they raise their own vegetables, they raise their own, pulses and their own, grains and everything. They eat the best. But they eat different food. If we are served that one for 3 days continuously, then we will say that, forget about it. Forget about it. We need something that is spiced with all the bad things in the world. So our needs are different. So government, when catering to the needs of the people, maintaining justice, they have to take into consideration a whole lot different matters. So furthering justice is the task of human government or the state, but the Christian sees justice as the principal reason for the state's existence. Such position is valid only when man believes in God, the Creator and the Redeemer. Because truth in human relationship, the truth is something that God only can determine, Truth. Truth is always absolute. Even, truth is never relative, No, truth is absolute. You have 1 kilo, that means 1000 grams. You have 1 gram because 1000 milligram. That is absolute anywhere you go. You cannot vary. So in any area, truth is truth. Only God can. So then that means that in the practice of justice, truth and justice go hand in hand. Where truth is violated, justice is violated. Where justice is violated, truth is violated. In the violation of justice, there is always some truth violated. Wherever truth is violated, somebody's justice is denied. Somebody's justice is denied. So, this is a big thing, This is a big thing. The furthering the justice of humanity, we Christians have a greater part in this matter, because we believe in God the Creator and we have a Redeemer. Our Creator and our Redeemer, He operates on truth and justice. So the important question is, does the law leave every citizen secure in government sphere? That's a question. Does our government ensure, justice for everybody? Is every citizen secure in the hand of the government? The success or the failure of a system, whether it is democracy or whether it is socialism, capitalism, communism, whatever system you want to say, the success or the failure of that system is to be decided by this question: is every citizen under that system is secure? Does he feel justice is provided? His rights are respected. He is free to do his duties. He is respected as a creation of God. Is his family safe? Is he able to pursue a profession that he wants to? Is government unduly taking away all the money that he earns? He has to bribe somebody to get his rights. All these questions. So when you ask these questions, the only answer is most of the presence under the present government systems, we cannot say. I cannot say that I am safe. Unnecessary harassment comes everywhere, It may be on the road from the traffic policeman. It may be the other car that passes by, that may be. He may violate my rights. He may push me out of the road. It's there, my neighbor may be doing it, but no, it should be what is unique about the millennium is that every citizen in millennium is secure in the administration. That's it. It is true about the church also. You want to know what the church government is doing right? Ask, is every member of the church is secure in that system? Is there somebody who feels that I am not wanted, I am discriminated? I'm unnecessarily, accused. Nobody should feel that. We should be able to maintain that, under any system. The question whether a family is running right, the same thing. Is every member of that family feel secure? Will one of the children feel that he is discriminated, not allowed, but other children are allowed? Problem. Parents may not be doing that deliberately, knowingly, but the child is feeling. That feeling showing that that child's need is not met. The emotional need is not met. So this is a vital question we have to ask in the government. Are you, under this democratic system, feel that you and your family and your neighbors, they are all secure? No, who can say that? The only secure people, I don't know who are there, even the richest are not. Because they have how many locks they have and the security guard is there. They have license for the gun. All these things say that they are not secure. That's what says that. They are not secure. CCTV. Yeah, all those CCTV and everything. So who is secure? This is the question. See, under the government, that is a true good government, the citizens will feel security. I can worship the Lord I want. I can practice my religion. I can share my religious views without being threatened, And I can work and enjoy. I can make my earning. I can, the government takes government's due share, true, but the rest I can use. I can move into society freely as long as I'm not a threat to others. So this is the purpose of the form of government. The democracy, the politics is this one. Politics is a game that is to be played where there is justice maintained. Where every citizen is feeling that security. The government has the responsibility to ensure security. That's what they say in their manifesto and all. Our government stands for freedom, for justice, for equality, for this and that. They are good words, flowery words, but where are they? Where are they? So what's our responsibility in our worldview concerning this politics? That's the biggest question. We are talking about worldview. Where are we? to forget about, don't involve in politics? Or do we have a responsibility? See, when we say involve in politics, it doesn't mean that you run for the Congress or BJP. That's not what it means. It means educating our people about the purpose of government, the process of government, the kind of government that is best, and all these things. That's our responsibility. Praying for bringing the right government and the right atmosphere so that the right government could function. This is our responsibility. The sad thing is parents are not educating even their children about politics. Am I right? In the homes we don't discuss. We discuss algebra and trigonometry, or we discuss economics, the syllabus, but we don't discuss. We need to educate our children. As they grow up, they should be good citizens. They should have an awareness of what politics is, what bad politics is now going on, good politics is. As a citizen, what is my duty? What's government? What government for? Is this government right? Are they doing their duties? It's not what could I do and all these things. So as citizens of this, we Christians, we have a great responsibility actually. We should write it to our MLAs, our MPs, about the need of our community, how either it is violated, We pay electricity bill, but we don't get electricity. Here in Mumbai you get it, but here in Vasai we don't get it. Frequent violation, most of the time there is no electricity, You start eating the supper, current is gone. You're doing something. So somebody in Kerala went to pay the electricity bill, They gave in and they gave the electricity bill with the rupees. The accountant there, the cashier there, began to take it, she pulled it back. So she looked and she said, what is the joke? That's how the electricity comes and goes. So that's how we pay. So what else? You pay according to the service you get. This is the way it is, our rights are not there, we don't get good water. Who will you complain? The roads are not there, who will you complain? See, the justice, we don't feel secure in the system. After 10 o'clock, 8 o'clock, even 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock in Kerala and some other places, women cannot walk. Even after 10 o'clock in certain places, men cannot walk. So are we secure? You cannot sit quietly in your own porch or veranda, leaving the main door open. You cannot. You have to make sure that it is all locked and closed and latched and everything, because we don't feel, because there are people who, roam around, bad elements, and government is not doing anything to stop them, because the law enforcing agencies are sometimes getting benefit out of it. This is the fact. So our system is not working correct. So should Christians get involved in politics is a question to always, the answer is no. Christians should only share the gospel. I think that answer comes because they don't know what is politics. That's the reason. They don't know what we're talking about politics. They think that politics is election. No, politics is a big subject, In election is only the process of electing who to rule you. That's all. That's the process of it. But politics is a big, area, big subject. So I recommend that, sometimes in our churches we should have a conference on these matters, politics or economics or law and all these matters. Because let our people have a Christian, worldview. We only think about rice and curry and then school and textbooks and how to make money and spend it. If that's all what we think, then we are not properly Christians. Because the majority of the areas, about sociology and about economics and politics and law and government and so many other areas we have covered, these areas people are totally ignorant, uninterested. They don't know a thing about it. God is not going to put premium upon our ignorance. No, God does not put premium upon our ignorance. We need to know the things we need to know. You know, Bible is a big book. It talks about government, talks about taxation, about money, about work ethics and everything, morality, and it talks about everything. It's not only talks about salvation. You know, it's not only so. It also talks about how saved people should live, how saved people should relate to government, and unsaved people, how we should earn our money and spend our money, you know, what system we should have. All these things it talks. So I will say that, you know, we sometimes have, in all the conferences our subject will be what? Love of God or, you know, prayer. And they are absolutes for Christian life. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not saying these should be the subject every conference. I'm saying once in the life of a church. Church. You know, come with that much sin. No, it should be occasionally. One of the subjects in the 2 days camp, one message beyond some area, you know. So that our people will be aware that, you know, when they hear the term politics, they don't think of, you know, only the wrong thought, negatives comes, or economics, the negatives come, you know, or, you know, we should think more soberly. And of course there will be some who are more interested, let them pursue more, but on average, every believer should know the minimum. The minimum, that much we should provide. So these are matters that are relevant in politics, you know, in politics. So it's not simply whether communism or socialism or this matter, but it's a whole matter of why government, how government, what government, you know, and all these things, you know. We need to be conscious, we need to be educating, you know, ourselves and others, especially our children and all family. You know, it's nice for the whole father, mother and children all to sit down and some evening have a discussion on, you know, our government, politics, you know, and the biblical viewpoint, or on economics, sociology, you know. And it will be very interesting, very, very enlightening, you know. So laissez-faire is what I stand for, and I have a, you know, money exchange tax, MET. It's my prayer that someday some intelligent person will come up with this system and get a Nobel Prize for it.
I read this in some paper recently.
I'm sure that people are thinking about it. I talked about it years before. When I was talking to my wife, she said, "Oh, this is what you have been talking years back." I said, "Yeah, that's what I have been talking years back. But God has called me a preacher, so I'm not going to write a book on economics and, you know, my theory and all that, you know."
You have at least patented it.
Well, who needs patents, brother? As somebody said, we are citizens of heaven. You going there? The name and fame and all this world. I'm not that qualified, to be honest. I'm just an ordinary person. So as somebody said, let God get the glory. I don't mind who gets the credit. As long as God gets the glory, I don't mind who gets the credit. You know, I don't worry about that. But I just said what I felt. Maybe a better government system and all that. Maybe at least believers could sit down and talk about it. You know, that's all. Okay, I stop there.
Your viewpoints on this now, how much of your learning or being in US impacted? I'm thinking that would have impacted.
It had quite a bit. One of my thing is I was a great reader, you know. I read a lot of magazines and a lot of books. You know, I enjoy my interest is diversified in that way. You know, God gave me also, you know, basic. My bachelor degree was in chemistry and physics. Then I went to a master's degree in political science. Then I went to the law degree. Then God has taken me to the theology. You know, so you know, I had a diversified interest and so, you know. No, science is where I'm the poorest. So I don't talk much about science. But I'm so happy that for 7 years I earned my living by science. So, so American living, yes, you know, but what I found is you know, no discredit for them, that average American is ignorant. Average American is ignorant. They don't know even who their president is. Somebody said that a German, somebody asked a German, you know who is Hitler? He said, no, I don't know, never heard of him. The Europeans, because of their economic affluence, they don't need anybody's anything. They have money, so they leave whatever money can buy. That's their power, money power. They can buy car with money, they buy car, big home with money, that's it. But why should they know politics? Why should they know economics? So average American is not concerned about these things. There are people in America who does not know who Mahatma Gandhi is. That's very, 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 very interesting. They don't know what is cricket is.
There are people in America who believe Afghanistan is somewhere in
Yeah, right. They don't know. They don't know those things. They're very little. Very little. So when American asked me, now Abraham, who taught you to drink tea? So they thought that, the Boston Tea Party is where we they don't know, that tea grow in America, India, or coffee grow in India, or anything else, They're ignorant. Not everybody. The learned the informed are well informed. The informed are very well informed. But the ignorant are
Well, ignorant.
well ignorant. That sort of a thing is there, But in India, an average high school student knows a lot more than what, other people know. They ask them where is America, which high school student doesn't know? Who is Obama? They will say. About Russia or China, and most of the things they will know that, but they don't know. So what I said is, in America, if you are interested, you have plenty of opportunity to learn. Yeah. But you don't have there will be articles coming and discussions coming, debates coming and all that, and I was interested, therefore I did that. And even now also I read a lot, political magazines and a newspaper, the editorial articles and this and that, Sunday articles and all come. I still in the habit of reading, so that, because I have an interest. I get up early morning, 4 o'clock, and read about 6, 7 or 8 chapters of my Bible for my, that's, there's no substitute. But other times I spend a lot of time in reading other things. And I used to get many magazines, but now I don't, because magazines are very expensive also, If in the family many are reading, that's fine. If I'm the only one reading, investing money is not, television, we don't have one, but back home we had one. There are some late night discussions and all come, Some of the great personalities come with the NBC and CBS and all that, and I was in the habit of listening and discussing those things, international politics, or what is happening in the Middle East or Southeast Asia or in Africa, and all these things that, somebody from American foreign policy, somebody from British, somebody maybe from China, they all come and ask, and so, you listen to it, you get an idea of what the economy now, the budget is come, there is so many budget evaluations, and I read them, as far as possible I have read, and I understood that what is the taxation, what they're wrong with that one, their each viewpoint. Most Christians won't read those things. They won't read those things because they're not interested. And for that reason they don't know. But I read it because I want to keep abreast. If somebody wants to discuss about the budget, I wanted to talk about the budget a little bit, Or if somebody is listening discussing in the train, I can at least listen and get something. So that sort of, law or this sociology and this sort of thing. So I recommend that Christians should have a diversified view, because our worldview can be formed, moduled only if we have a wider exposure to things. Truth is not narrow, truth is very wide. It's narrow in the sense that it's absolute, it's straight. But truth governs many subjects, Yes, truth is not the Bible alone. Bible deals with many subjects. So we should develop that habit, I will say, even as you excel in your subject, because that's your subject, but you should also excel in other areas. Even in cooking and in eating. The money, they decide where the money will go. The few who handle the money won't decide. I don't know how here it functions, but where I will say that at the beginning of the month, every year, they will make their material financial policies. The elders, deacons, and all the members of the church will say that, okay, every sitting preacher will be paid that much, and this uninvited preacher will be paid that much. So, but guideline, there's a guideline. That guideline according to that one gone. If anybody is sick in the church, the church will not give anything on the church amount, or individually, personally, collection will be made towards that. That will not be the way the church will discriminate against one another. By wedding comes the same thing. Maybe more needy, so more money will be given by individuals. The individual can personally give, or it will be collected and given, but it should not be from the church. Because there will be people later complain that you gave so much for his son's wedding, not that much. So financial policies will be given, and any amount to the deacons can really, without consultation, but any amount above that need to be consulted with spiritual leadership, or it could be should be presented before the whole body, and it should be passed, because the burden comes from the people, such as building a hall, for example, collecting a camp, more. So the whole people should be called and say that we want a camp, but this is expensive, so we can do raise the money, That's all. Without saying that everybody will be giving 5,000 rupees each, So, otherwise, the spiritual matters are all decided by the spiritual leadership of the church. They are not going to discuss with everybody, should I preach next Sunday, or you think somebody else should preach on Sunday. God has put you there, so you are supposed to do that. So it's not technically a democracy. It is not technically a democracy. Leaders are never elected by the people. They are appointed by the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit has appointed. Deacons are elected by the people, because deacons handle money the people give. The people give. It's the people's money. You can handle, people will give me only if it is handled by people who have confidence. Then only money will come. I know who is handling it. I have confidence in those. So deacons are elected or chosen by the church. So it's not a typical democracy. A typical democracy cannot function. The Lord, of course, is not Democrat. Neither is he a Republican. The Lord is an autocrat, you would say that, but he is never, he does not do things, simply, it is human fancy. He is a loving, caring master who always takes the best for his people. Because he is omniscient, he knows what is best for us. Because he lives forever, he only can carry out, because others will do something, great consequences come, but they are gone. The next generation has to deal with. But the Lord is there. All consequences he will handle. He knows the consequences at the beginning. In the beginning itself, he knows the end. So he is just administrator. When we have such a person, like Lord Jesus Christ, democracy is not the best. Monarchy is the best. But until then, I think, we have probably a minimum government is the best, with some democratic principles, definitely. Now the question is, what is the purpose of government? We have talked about it the other day, but that was one aspect we talked about. There is more to talk about. The purpose of government is to maintain justice for all. Justice for all. That's the basic purpose of government.